I didn't know that the night my husband locked me out in -7 degrees cold was the same night I would discover the secret that almost killed my marriage. My name is Ada, and this is the story of how I went from dreaming of a soft life in Korea to standing outside in the snow, banging on a door that would never open, while the man I married laughed with another woman inside. Tell me, what would you have done if you were me? Would you have stayed and fought, or would you have walked away into that freezing night, with nothing but your dignity? Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you will make you question everything you thought you knew about love, marriage, and survival. I grew up in a one-room apartment in Lagos, Nigeria, the kind of place where the roof leaked when it rained, where we shared one bathroom with 6 other families, where my mother worked as a cleaner, and my father left when I was 7 because poverty was too heavy for him to carry. I remember being 12 years old, watching my mother's hands crack and bleed from washing other people's clothes, and I promised myself that one day I would find a way out, not just for me, but for her. I studied hard, got into university, studied computer science, because everyone said that was the way to escape poverty. But after graduation, there were no jobs, just rejection letters and empty promises. I was 24, living back in that same one-room apartment, watching my mother's back bend lower every day, and I felt like I was drowning. That's when I met him online. His name was Min-jun. He was Korean, 28 years old, working as an accountant in Seoul. He found my profile on a language exchange app where I was trying to learn Korean. He was trying to learn English. We started chatting. He was gentle, patient. He never asked for photos or made me feel uncomfortable. He just talked to me like I mattered, and after 6 months, he said the words that changed my life. Ada, I want to marry you. Come to Korea. Let me take care of you. I thought it was a miracle. My mother cried when I told her. Happy tears, she said. But I saw the relief in her eyes. Relief that I wouldn't end up like her. So I said yes. I packed my life into 2 suitcases, left Nigeria for the first time, and flew 14 hours to a country I'd only seen in dramas. Min-jun picked me up from the airport. He was shorter than I expected. Quieter too. He didn't hug me, just took my bags and said, "Let's go home." Home was a basement apartment in a neighborhood I'd never heard of. 1 room, a tiny kitchen, a bathroom so small I could barely turn around. The walls were damp, the ceiling was low, and the cold, oh God, the cold, hit my skin like needles. It was November. I didn't know winter could hurt. Min-jun saw my face and said, "It's not much, but it's ours." I smiled, because I was grateful. Because I didn't want him to think I was ungrateful. Because I thought love was supposed to look like sacrifice. If you've ever left everything you knew for someone you barely knew, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Because I need to know I'm not alone in this. The first few months were strange. Min-jun wasn't violent. He didn't yell or hit me. But he was cold in ways I didn't have words for. He worked long hours. Left at 7 in the morning, came back at 10 at night. I stayed home because I didn't have a work visa yet. Didn't speak enough Korean to go anywhere alone. Didn't know anyone in the entire country except him. I cooked, cleaned, waited. I tried to talk to him when he came home, but he was always tired, always on his phone, always distracted. We ate dinner in silence. He scrolled. I stared at my plate. And at night, we slept with our backs to each other. A cold space between us that grew wider every week. I told myself it was normal, that marriage took time, that I was adjusting. But deep down, I felt something I didn't want to name. Loneliness. His mother started calling more. She didn't speak English, so Min-jun would translate. But even through the translation, I could feel her disapproval. Why did you marry a black woman? Can she even cook Korean food? What will people say? Min-jun never defended me. He just nodded along, said, "Yes, mother," and hung up. And every time he did, I felt a little smaller. One night, I put too much salt in the soup. It was an accident. I was distracted, thinking about my mother, wondering if she was eating well. Min-jun tasted it, made a face, and threw his spoon down. "How can you mess up something so simple?" he snapped. I froze. It was the first time he'd raised his voice at me. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "Sorry doesn't fix it." He pushed his bowl away, grabbed his coat, and left. I sat there, in that cold basement, staring at the soup I'd made with love, and cried. Not because of the salt, but because I realized something terrifying. He didn't see me as his wife. He saw me as a project, a charity case. A woman he'd saved from poverty who should be grateful for every scrap of kindness he threw my way. And the worst part? I believed him. Have you ever been made to feel like you should be grateful just for existing in someone's space? Tell me in the comments, because I want to know if you understand this feeling. Things got worse slowly. So slowly, I didn't even notice at first. He started coming home later. 10 became 11. 11 became midnight. He stopped eating my food. Said he'd already eaten at work. He started taking his phone to the bathroom, locking the screen when I walked by. Wearing cologne at night, which he never did before. And his mother's calls? They doubled, sometimes triple. I asked him once, "Is everything okay?" He looked at me like I was paranoid. Why wouldn't it be? I didn't push. Because I was scared. Scared of being abandoned in a country where I didn't speak the language, didn't have money, didn't have friends. So I stayed quiet. I swallowed my suspicions. I played the role of the grateful wife. And every night, I cried silently into my pillow, making sure he couldn't hear. Winter came fast and brutal. By December, the cold was unbearable. The kind of cold that makes your bones ache. The kind that seeps into your skin and stays there. One evening, we ran out of groceries. Min-jun was working late again. I bundled up in every piece of clothing I had. A jacket that wasn't warm enough, a scarf my mother had sent me, gloves with holes in the fingers, and I walked to the store. The snow was falling heavy. My hands were freezing, my nose was red, but I didn't care. I just wanted to be useful. I bought rice, vegetables, meat for soup. I thought maybe if I made him a good meal, he'd smile at me again. Maybe he'd remember why he married me. I walked back through the snow, my arms full of bags, my breath visible in the air. I got to our building, climbed down the stairs to the basement, stood in front of our door, and knocked. No answer. I knocked again, still nothing. I pulled out my phone and called him. He answered on the third ring. "What?" he said, annoyed. "I'm outside. Can you open the door?" Silence. Then, "Sleep at your friend's place." My heart stopped. "Min-jun, I don't have any friends here. Please open the door. I'm busy. I'll see you tomorrow." And he hung up. I stood there, staring at my phone, trying to understand what just happened. I knocked again. Harder this time. Banging. "Min-jun, please. It's freezing." Nothing. And then I heard it. A woman's voice. Soft. Giggling. My blood went cold. Not from the weather. From realization. There was someone inside. With my husband. In our home. I banged on the door until my hands hurt. But he never opened it. The neighbors started peeking out, looking at me with pity. One older woman shook her head and went back inside. No one helped. I stood there for 20 minutes, shaking, crying, the grocery bag still in my hands. Then I walked away. I didn't know where to go. I just walked. My fingers went numb. My tears froze on my cheeks. I found a 24-hour convenience store and went inside. The warm air hit me like a wave. I sat on the heated floor near the ramen shelf, my back against the wall, and I cried. Not loud, just silent tears that wouldn't stop. The store clerk, a young guy, looked at me but didn't say anything. I stayed there all night. If your partner ever locked you out, physically or emotionally, comment and let me know. Because I need to know that I wasn't the only one stupid enough to stay. Before we go any further, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from you. And if you're new here, click the subscribe button. This is Afro-Korean Love Stories, and we share real, raw stories about love, pain, and survival across cultures. Don't miss what happens next. The next morning, Min-jun left for work early. I know because I walked back to the apartment at 6 in the morning. Freezing. Exhausted. humiliated. The door was unlocked. He was gone, and for the first time since I'd married him, he'd left his phone. He never forgets his phone. Never. It was sitting on the kitchen counter, screen down. My hands shook. As I picked it up, I knew I shouldn't. I knew it was wrong. But I also knew that if I didn't look, I would spend the rest of my life wondering. I unlocked it. His password was still the same. Our wedding date. The irony almost made me laugh. I opened his messages, and there it was. A conversation with someone named Sumin. Hundreds of messages, photos, voice notes. I scrolled. My vision blurred. My chest tightened. I wish you could just leave her. She doesn't understand you like I do. A black woman will never fit into a Korean man's life. I'll keep the baby, even if you're scared. I stopped breathing. Baby. She was pregnant. I sat down on the floor, phone still in my hand, and I felt my entire world collapse. He'd locked me out in the freezing cold so he could be with her. He'd made me feel like I was nothing so he could build something with someone else. And the worst part? His mother knew. There were messages between him and his mother where she encouraged it. Sumin is a good woman. Older, stable, Korean. She's better for you. You can divorce the African girl quietly. I wanted to scream. I wanted to break something. But I just sat there, numb, holding the evidence of my husband's betrayal in my hands. And then I heard the door. He was back. He'd forgotten something. He walked in, saw me on the floor, saw his phone in my hand, and froze. Ada. Is it true? I asked, my voice shaking. He didn't answer. Is it true? He looked at the floor and nodded. I don't remember much of what I said next. I remember yelling. I remember crying. I remember him trying to explain. She's my boss. She pressured me. I didn't mean for this to happen. But you let it happen. I was confused. You locked me out in the snow so you could sleep with her. He had no answer for that. He just stood there, looking guilty but not sorry. Not really. My mother thinks it's better this way, he finally said, and that's when I knew. He wasn't going to choose me, he never was. I asked him, voice barely a whisper. Did your mother force you to lock me out in the cold? Silence. He looked away, and I had my answer. If you've watched this far, comment, I'm still here so I know you're with me. Because what I'm about to tell you next changed everything. I didn't leave that day. Not because I wanted to stay, but because I had nowhere to go. No money, no visa to work, no friends, no family. I was trapped. But I started planning. I researched online, found a multicultural women's center in Seoul. They helped immigrant wives in bad situations. I called them. A kind woman answered. I told her everything. She said, "You're not the first, and you won't be the last. But you have rights. Let me help you." She connected me with a lawyer, a shelter, resources I didn't know existed, and slowly, piece by piece, I started building an escape plan. I packed my documents, my passport, my marriage certificate, photos, evidence. I did it quietly. Min-jun didn't notice. He was too busy with Sumin. And then one day, the lawyer told me something that changed the game. His affair violates workplace ethics laws. If Sumin is his supervisor and they're having a relationship, she could lose her job. He could be fined. And if he locked you out, that's domestic neglect. You can file for divorce and get compensation. For the first time in months, I felt something other than sadness. I felt power. I moved out 2 weeks later. Min-jun came home one day and I was gone. Just a note on the table that said, "I deserve warmth, not winter." He called, texted, begged. My mother forced me. I didn't know she'd get pregnant. "Come home. Let's pretend this never happened." I didn't answer. Then he showed up at the shelter, crying, on his knees. "Please, Ada. I'm sorry." I looked at him. This man who'd promised to take care of me, who'd made me feel like I owed him my life, who'd locked me out in the cold. And I said, "Did your mother force you to lock me out? Did she force you to humiliate me? Did she force you to choose her over me every single day? He had no answer. I turned and walked away. And I never looked back. It's been 8 months now. I have a part-time job at a small cafe run by a Nigerian woman who moved to Korea 20 years ago. I'm learning Korean properly now. Slowly, I joined an online group for immigrant wives. We share stories, support each other, laugh, cry, heal. I have a tiny apartment, 1 room, but it's mine. It has a heater that works, a bed that's warm, a door that I control, and every night, I sleep peacefully. No cold space beside me, no silent tears, just peace. Min-jun's affair came out at his company. Soo-min lost her job. He got fined. His mother stopped calling him. He tried to contact me one last time, asking if we could talk. I blocked him, because I finally realized something. I didn't need saving. I never did. I just needed to save myself. If you believe that every woman deserves warmth, not winter, subscribe to Afro Korean love stories. We share real, raw, powerful stories about love, survival, and finding yourself across cultures. Your subscription means the world to us. And if this story touched you, if you've ever felt trapped, if you've ever walked away from something that was breaking you, drop a comment. Tell me your story, because we're all in this together. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember, you deserve a soft life. Not just someday, but right now.